Welcome to Talk Business with Audrey. Hosted by Audrey Bell Carney. The show that helps everyday people turn their big ideas into successful businesses so that they can live the boss life. Sit back and take notes.
Welcome to another episode of Talk Business with Audrey. I'm your host, Audrey Bell Kearney. You guys have to excuse my voice. So I went to the football game. I went to 2 football games last week. I went to one Saturday, one Friday. My voice has not been right ever since. So I'm sounding a little crazy. I'm sounding like I got a frog in my throat. That's because I'm yelling and screaming at the football field the whole time. It's football season. So I went to high school football. So excuse me for the frogginess in my throat, but it's all good. I'm so happy to have a great guest with me today. Her name is Miss Nicole Parker. You know, she is doing some amazing things. And so we met. She came to our book launch. So the book launch we did last month. If you didn't get a chance to come, that's okay. You're here now. And by the way, she's an author too. So hey, Amazon, shout out to everybody on Amazon. We are streaming live right now, guys. We're streaming live on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube, and Amazon. So shout out to everybody on Amazon. But the books are in the carousel. So you see my book there. You got something to say. You also see her books there. Great. Goals, Grind, and Gratitude, which sounds really cool. I met her at a book signing, and she came highly recommended. And I'm so happy that she's here with us today. And she is doing some amazing things. She's helping women become the best that they can be. You know, just let me just say this real quick. So Rashia, I've always been about empowering women, right? Always. And here lately, I've been called a feminist twice in the last 6 months. And I was like, it makes me a feminist because I want to empower women. Like, why do I have to? I've been called a feminist twice by people who don't even know me. And I was like, this sounds crazy. But I say this, if empowering women makes me a feminist, I guess I'm a feminist, but I don't consider myself that. I'm not male bashing or anything like that. So I don't know about you, but what was your inspiration for focusing on wanting to empower women?
You know what? It's so funny that you talk about being a feminist. I'm in the same boat with you. You know, like I just want people to be happy, but I know what God gave me and I know what he told me to do. And that was to focus in on women. So, you know, I guess if that puts me in that bucket, just like you, okay. But no, that's what God told me to do. So I'm just following his order. But what really got me interested was back in 2014, I started a nonprofit organization and I wanted to help out teen girls. I had always had strong women in my life, strong women in leadership, just a lot of women around me that supported me. And I wanted to be able to pour back into those girls. So just, you know, someone gave it to me, I want to give to someone else. So as I started working with these young ladies, I heard my calling. I enjoyed what I do. I thoroughly enjoyed helping these young ladies thrive. And my particular age range is that teenage range. So between 12 and 18, that's who my organization focused on, because that seemed to be my forgotten about crowd. Everybody likes the little girls because they're so cute. But our older girls, they really, really needed our help. So I poured into our older girls. And as I did that, I started working with their mothers. And so now, not only am I pouring into those young ladies who need help, the problems that they have weren't their own. They're generational. So you naturally start to work with their moms too. So that's really how I started and how I got into it. Even as a kid, you know, I was always been like a motivator or a teacher or something of some sort. But just gravitating to women and strong women and just women who need help has always been just my calling.
You know, that's so cool that you said that. I think about young women today, like there's so much that's going on in the world. And it's so much. I have a 4-year-old granddaughter. And the world is just wide open right now. It's wide open to everybody, anybody on any device. The television is just wide open. And so I feel like what you're doing right now is going to help them so much, because back in the day when I was a young girl, even when my daughter was a teenager, it wasn't so open. We were talking about this the other night. My husband was talking about how she got a beating for calling the 1-900 line, or it was some kind of club line or something.
I know what you're talking about. I remember those.
Yes. So they're on the club line, the party line or something. And I found out about it. So of course she got a bad one. And my husband was telling my granddaughter, like, because my granddaughter didn't want to go to sleep. He was telling her, Mommy used to get beatings too. And Pop had to save her because she was on the 900 line. But anyway, when you think about where we are right now, and I think sometimes people think that these girls are so much more mature than they were back then because of all of the freedom they have to see things and explore things. I feel like that's like a double-edged sword a little bit. So can you talk a little bit about that? Because for me, it's so much, like we have to monitor everything the 4-year-old does. She knows how to get into everybody's phone. She knows everybody's passcode. She knows how to get on any channel she wants to. And so we have to monitor that, because there have been times she said some choice things like, don't you say that again. And we know that she got it off the internet. Yes. So how do you support the young ladies right now when they have so much content at their fingertips anytime they want to have it?
Yeah, that's such a great question. Because like you said, a lot of times we think that the girls today are so different than the girls were back in the day or when we came up. However, they're not. Even though technology is right here at our fingertips, the age-old practices of sitting down and having a conversation, getting in tune with them, finding out what's important to them, those things really do work. One of the things that I do with my girls when I am mentoring them, I have them in a group circle. We're in a sister circle, and everything that we talk about in this circle is confidential. We create a family. So when we do that, the girls are more willing to open up and talk about those things. And really, one of the things that I use to my advantage is when you're a mentor, you think that you're going to go in and I'm going to teach 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. But really, you learn so much from these girls. So that gives you what you need so you can go ahead and minister to them, so you can meet them at their level. So it's just simple. Just like when you have your grandbaby, you can't talk to your grandbaby, in the same manner as you would an adult. You have to bring it down to your grandbaby's level so they understand where you're coming from. Yeah. And really that same thing goes over to our teenagers too. I make sure I talk to them. I listen to them. A lot of times communication is a big factor, and where our teenagers, they don't feel heard, they don't feel respected, and they don't feel listened to. And we create that avenue for them in our organization. So I want them to be able to feel loved. I want them to know that, yes, what you have to say matters, but here, let me teach you how to say it so people can listen. Because the way that you communicate, a lot of times teenagers, they're communicating out of emotion, right? And some adults do it too. This is why we mentor adults as well, right? And this is why I speak life into adults and women as well, because we operate out of that emotion, where we teach them how, let's go ahead and control that emotion a bit and get out exactly what it is that you want to say so you can be heard and not just seen, if that makes sense.
Yes, it does make sense. My mom used to work at a youth detention center, and she would always tell me, she's like, the girls are worse than the boys. She would say that all the time. And then there's another woman who is in the who's a member of the GWC chamber, and her organization started out just serving boys, but she started to include girls, and she said the same thing. Oh my God, girls are so much harder than boys. Why do you think that is?
I think a lot of times because we are emotional creatures, and it is so hard. You know what? My mom used to say this to me all the time, and I didn't understand it back then, but I get it now. When you are a teenager, you are stuck in a really difficult place. You're too old to do a lot of stuff. You're too young to do a lot of stuff. So you are literally stuck right there in the middle, and you're trying to figure out how to navigate those things. And again, a lot of times as emotional creatures, we are acting out of hormones, out of rage, and like, listen, hear me roar, right? You are going to hear what I have to say. And I also think too, since we're talking about it, media has a lot to play into it as well. When you have young ladies, especially our young ladies of color, they have TV and media telling them how they expect for them to behave. So when you don't have that guidance in the home, or maybe you come from a single family home where mom is just trying to make it and pay the bills, so you don't have anything to look up to, you're looking to the things that you see every day, which may be rap videos, TV, housewives, or whatever. So now you're bringing on a persona on how you feel a woman should act and how a Black woman should act. And that may not be so. So you need to see different examples to say, hey, I can be educated, or I don't have to fight and cuss and drink and do all of that to be popular or to be cool. Oh, okay. So it's really about showing them a different way, that you don't necessarily have to dumb down to the images and the things that you see on TV. You are created for so much better. You have so much better in you, even if the situation that you come from doesn't seem successful, even if it feels like, what you see at home, or you might be in a bad situation, it's just making your heart ache. That is okay. You can overcome that. You do not have to, be your circumstances. So sometimes people don't know that. And again, I had women who poured into me, who taught me those things. I'm from Detroit, Michigan, and I literally come from one of the roughest neighborhoods in the city of Detroit. But one of the things that was established in my home was, just because we have this going on around us does not mean this is what's going on inside of this house and what's going on inside of us. We have a mission and we're going to be better. So the fact is that I was able to push out of that neighborhood. I was able to successfully graduate high school, go off to college, and really do something with myself. I'm like, oh, wait, I got to pull these girls in too, because they can do it too, and they just don't know it. And what happens is, now a lot of the young girls that I've worked with have turned into grown women. They're having their own kids. They're starting their own lives. So now again, as I was reaching out and speaking to their mothers and ministering to their mothers on, how do I handle this girl who's sneaking out the house late at night? What do I do? Right? I'm pulling those same people right on along, and they're like, all right, Rashia, I get it now. Moms are like, thank you so much. Like, I get it now. Or even women are just, thank you so much. I get it now. And then sometimes it's just a little guidance and advice that's needed on both ends.
The first time I ever had the opportunity to work with both the parent and a child, I was a job coach. So that was a job. I was a job coach, y'all. Like, they paid me to be a coach. Oh, wow. And that was my first time actually coaching in Jersey City, New Jersey. So Jersey City, a little rough, back in the day, but they paid me to be a coach. And what I realized in becoming a job coach was that a lot of what I was seeing in the grown-ups was being passed down to their children, but it was also passed down to them. And you kind of hear that now, but I actually saw it firsthand. And here I was, 28 years old, not having a clue about how am I going to coach, somebody that was 40. And I remember having a client. I had a caseload. So even though we were called job coaches, we were really social workers, but they called us job coaches. It was a grant under the Urban League in Jersey City, and they were able to hire a bunch of job coaches. But the woman, I remember having this one client, she was 40 years old. I was 28. She was 40. She had 3 children. She never learned to read.
Wow.
She never learned to read. And she was talented. Like, she could sew stuff. And everybody knew back then I was just starting out on my journey as an entrepreneur. So they told her to come talk to me. And I'm excited, about she wasn't my client. She was one of the other job coaches' client, but everybody knew that I was an entrepreneur. They told her to come talk to me about this business that she was trying to start with these pillows. And I'm like, okay, great. I'm going to bring her into the office. So I bring her into the office. I had just cut an article out of the Star Ledger. It was talking about this woman who was on welfare, and she got off of welfare by starting a cookie company. So I'm excited to show her the article. I hand her the article, not knowing she couldn't read. And she takes the article and she's looking at it. And then her job coach said to me, Audrey, can I talk to you in the hallway for a second? So I go in the hallway. She said, she can't read. And I'm like, what? So I came back in. I apologized. Like, I'm so sorry. I didn't know. And she's like, no, it's okay. But when I talked to her, she said to me, I stopped going to school in 4th grade. And I was like, 4th grade? She stopped going to school in 4th grade because her mother stopped going to school in 4th grade. So her mother had to stop school to take care of the kids. She stopped school to take care of the kids. And then she had her own kids. And I said to her, you have to learn how to read. Like, you can't run a business and not know how to read. So I realized at that point that a lot of, what I was seeing was passed down from generation to generation. Now, what's interesting is she wanted to change, right? But she wasn't my client. And I got sick before I even got a chance to see, did she change or not? But there are some people who never want to change and they hold their children back. Have you encountered mothers or parents like that who are just stuck where they are? And even though you're there to help both of them, they just refuse to move forward. Have you encountered parents like that?
Yeah. When you tell that story, it brings a woman to mind. I had my organization going, and I run a 6-week program called Great Girl University. And I had these girls coming through, and I teach etiquette in our lineup, so you're going to learn how to go out to eat and, do the things. I am very much so a lady, and I'm not ashamed of that. I'm not a tomboy at all. So I teach femininity, and I'm okay. And I embrace my femininity. Right. So I teach that. Yes. Let someone hold the door open for you. It's okay. Right. So I had a mom come up to me afterward, and she just says, well, I just want you to know I'm raising a girl. I'm not raising a young lady. And I'm just like, well, what is that supposed to mean? Well, she doesn't need people holding her door, and she doesn't need, someone doing for her. And that, we don't do that in this family. And I said, okay, here's what we're going to do. When you are mentoring people, and when you are giving advice, and when you are coaching people and really ushering them into the next level, what you have to understand is you cannot help everybody. Even though your heart wants to. My heart broke when I heard her say that, because I'm like, wow, what happened to you? What hurt you? Who hurt you? What put you in this hardened place that you're passing it along to your daughter? Right. So I told her, like, hey, this is what we teach here, kind of went over the curriculum with her. This is what we teach here. This is the reason that we teach it. And these are the results from us teaching it. How do you feel? So I really had to take mom, sit her down, and show her the ones, the twos, the threes. Literally, here's how 1 + 1 = 2 in this situation. Here's how embracing your femininity helps her be a girl. Here's how it helps her do better in school. Here's how it helps her feel better about herself. So when I broke that down for mom, you know what? She's like, okay, I can see where you're coming from. I can't guarantee you that I'm going to do this, but I'm going to let her stay into the program so she can learn what she can learn from you. And that was okay. And the girl actually ended up doing very well in our Great Girl University course. But a lot of times it's a matter of having conversations. And that's one of the things that we have to get back into as well. We don't talk anymore, right? So no one takes the time to sit down and say, hey, not let's talk at each other, but I really want to hear you. I want to hear what it is that you have to say, because I want to understand you. So no one's listening to understand. But when we really sit and have that conversation and listen to understand one another, then we can start to break down some of those communication barriers. Then we can really start to dig deep and figure out what trauma has settled in and make you put your guard up so hard. What has happened where you need to unpack that? And that is really what we focus on. So one, I'm in school for mental health counseling, so I will be a therapist in the next year. So I'm definitely pro talking and breaking down those emotional walls, right? But the other thing that we do is we zero in on that self-esteem, because everything that we do is literally tied to your self-esteem. So when people meet me, they say, what do you do? I say, I have a superpower. And my superpower is I push women and girls to greatness, right? I do that through tapping into your self-esteem, because that self-esteem makes a difference in the decisions that we make, the people that we date, the things that you do on a daily basis, whether you get up and go take a shower or not, whether you comb your hair, whether you show up to your job, whatever you do, how you talk to people, all of that literally ties right back around to your self-efficacy. So we really focus in on that self-efficacy, and I've created those tools to help you, push on and figure out, dang, well, what really happened? Oh, wait, okay, now I understand. Okay, well, what can I do to really start to get rid of these negative, negative views that my mom has said in my head? How can I get rid of that? It's okay. You can get rid of it. Now let's start working on self. So that's kind of what we do.
That's so cool. I gotta tell you, I've been a plus size woman my entire life. Like the entire time. I asked my mom one time, I said, when did I start gaining weight? She said I was 4.
Wow.
And 4 years old. But I later learned that was because my childhood was so turbulent because of my parents always fighting, right? And so I learned that, but it took me years to learn that. I never knew what it was. So it took me years to learn it, but I was always plus size. But here's the thing though. I always had a lot of self-confidence. My self-esteem was always off the charts. I remember when I moved to Jersey, I was born here in Georgia, but I was raised in Jersey. So I moved to Jersey when I was 12, and I had 2 teachers, Miss Pines and Miss Plant. They were friends. They were both plus size women. I was really good in math and science, still am to this day. Miss Pines told me, she said, listen, you a big girl, you gotta look cute all the time. This is what she told me, right? So I go home and tell my mom the exact same thing she told me. So my mom took me shopping. And I remember the first outfit I had was some black jeans and a black and white shirt. It was black on one side and white on the other side. From that day forward, I fell in love with clothes and became a clothes addict, to the point where my brother said to my mom, I think she needs help. I think she has a problem, right? Because my bill used to be $2,000-3,000 a month, and I had no kids, so I didn't know like I didn't know why I even got the money to pay the bill. Anyway, all of my friends were small. All of them. They were all small. I was the biggest girl in the group. But I always had self-confidence. You were going to respect me. This is what it was. And I remember one of my friends, she was the absolute smallest in the group. She says, how do you get guys to buy you stuff? And I had never thought about that. I said, what you mean? She's like, because they always buy you stuff. And I was dating this guy. He was trying to buy me a BMW. And my mom wanted me to marry him. And she's like, you should marry that boy. I was like, I'm not marrying him.
Right.
Because it wasn't about stuff for me, but they did not all of them, but one of them definitely did not have like the same level of self-esteem and self-confidence, right?
Yeah.
And so when she asked me that question, I was young. I had no clue. I was like, I don't know, which I didn't. But later on, I realized it was because of the self-confidence and the self-esteem. And, you know, you have women to this day who have very low self-esteem, very low self-confidence. So they're stuck. How do you help the grown women? Because, you know, the girls is one thing, but when you got a grown woman who's kind of set in her ways, you know, how do you help that audience?
Yes. And wait, you made me smile when you told that story, because listen, I'm a new smaller person, okay?
You are.
Yeah, I just recently over the past year lost 130 pounds. So
I
was
saw
like,
the pictures.
yeah.
When I went to your website, right? I said, I had to go back and look at the website. I said, is this the right website? Yes. So I went back. Then I went to your second website and I was like, wow.
Yeah, that was me. That was me for sure. That was me. So just shout out to you. Because listen, I was that friend in the group too, always confident. Like, just because I'm big didn't mean that I didn't have confidence. This has carried me, you know, my whole way through, right? So shout out to you on that. And also another thing that you said, it's honestly some of the most beautiful women, curvy, beautiful, long hair, like just beautiful women that suffer with self-esteem. So really to tap into those things, I have to get personal with my women. So right now, one of the things that we do, I do personal one-on-one coaching. And in that one-on-one coaching, I get all up and through your business, because I need to know what you're doing on a daily basis, who you're talking to on a daily basis, what your habits look like. Because one, you have to be willing, the other person has to be willing to really undress. And I don't mean clothing. I mean, undress from all the emotions, undress from all the trauma. They have to be open and ready to say, you know what? I am ready for change. So when the person says, you know what? I don't want to feel like this no more. I'm ready for change. It's really easy to get them to come on and pull. And I will be honest to say, I don't take everybody as a client, because if your mindset is not there, we're going to keep going around in a loop, and a loop, and a loop, and a loop, and you're wasting your time and your money. So when you are ready and you're like, listen, I'm ready to overcome this thing. Okay. Let's do it. Let's get all up and through your business. Let's talk about those conversations that you have on a daily basis. Let me check in with you on a weekly basis so we know what's happening. Let's go ahead and have those conversations. You have to do the work. So I have a worksheet that I created, and it's a goal. Actually, it's a workbook that I created. It's a goal workbook, and it's actually for free right now on my website to download. But it is a workbook, and I literally have the women work through the workbook. Take it seriously, print it out, write it down, answer the questions, so we can start to really reveal some of the things that are holding you back. And if it's something that's holding you back, okay, let's figure out what resources you need to overcome those things. So, for instance, I can't find a job. I feel like I'm just failing all around life. My best friend just got in her career. My other best friend just got married. Okay, let's sit down. Let's focus. One, we're going to stop comparing, because comparison is a killer. Two, we're going to keep our eyes on our own paper and start to work our own race. 3, let me see what your resume looks like. Let's go ahead and talk about the things that are on your resume. So literally, some women didn't get this hand, just someone holding their hand to walk them through. That's what we do. That is what I do. I also have coaching courses. So if they don't want that one-on-one coaching course, they can go ahead and do a master class that I have. And on that master class, they can go right ahead, and there are courses that they can take that identify certain things that they're going through. So finances, that is a big thing that holds us back, right?
Yeah.
So if our finances aren't together, then there's a lot of things that we can't do in this life. We have to be able to move and shake. So I go over finances one-on-one. I just recently did a TikTok video that ended up going viral. And I was talking about some of these things, like how to manage your checkbook. These are the basics that they don't teach you in high school, that I extend over to our women. A lot of women don't have that. Or it comes down to, even a lot of times, relationships are things that stop women from pushing forward, and teaching that lesson on, it really matters who you connect yourself with, how your life turns out, the certain things that start happening to you. An example that I use is, you ever met somebody and your edges is growing, you flourishing, you just are happy when you walk in the room. But then you link up with this person, you start having sex, let's be honest, you're going through all the things, and just, man, all this stuff just started happening. My cat died, and my plants won't grow, and my job is getting on my nerves. Well, wait a minute, what energy are you pulling in? Well, who are you connected to right now? Let's talk about these different connections. What are you putting up with that you don't have to put up with? Wait a minute. Let's look at these connections that you have in your life. Let's go ahead and clear them up and talk about them and pull them together. So that's really what I do. I break it down to the bare bones. And when I'm working with clients, I get all up and through their business. But it is definitely beneficial to get these women on board. I have had many women tell me, like, listen, I never even looked at the simple things like that, because it's the simple things that, like, okay, I wake up and talk to such and such every day.
Right.
And such keeps saying those little bitty nagging things that might be chipping away at your spirit. You never even realize it. Right. But we tap into those things to help our women push forward.
And that's so key. I think so. Georgette just put up a post, and she said somebody poured into me. That's why this is important, what you're doing, because she's right. Somebody poured into me. My teachers poured into me in 7th grade, right? And I live with that. I didn't stop shopping for real until I became an entrepreneur. And it's hilarious because my daughter she's very she's a fashionista. I call her fashionista. She makes anything looks nice. And so now, because I've been an entrepreneur for so long, fashion is, that's the furthest thing from my mind most of the time. We work from home. I've been working from home for 24 years. So, you don't have to get dressed up to work from home. But up until that point, my teachers poured into me. And with that one teacher, she poured into me. And I remember one of my classmates, her name was Sabrina Austin. And I saw her in April at my class reunion. I think it was my 35th. I'm dating myself, y'all. I think it was my 35th class reunion, but I saw her. But I remember in school, right before we graduated, she said, "You always dress so nice. You always dress so nice." She said that. Yeah. And I knew I dressed nice because I spent all my money. I would work every summer, and I spent every dime on clothes, every penny. But I did that through my adulthood. Now I had to learn how to not do that once I had my daughter and launched my business. But up until that point, that's what I did. But it was because someone poured into me. Now, you said something that was very key. They poured into me how to look beautiful all the time. Nobody poured into me and said, when you go to college, don't go in there and get all them credit cards. Nobody did that. So I had a million credit cards, a million of them. And by the time I had my daughter at 24, I filed bankruptcy. So nobody poured that part of me. So the fact that you're addressing the whole woman, like from the beginning on up, the entire woman is so important, because you're right. When money is an issue, it holds us hostage. We're stagnated. We can't move. We can't focus. There's no clarity. It's a whole lot that goes on. And a lot of times it's tied around money. Nobody told me that. Nobody didn't say, girl, and back, I don't know if they still do it now, but back when I was in college, they set the table up outside your dorm room. And it was like, you want a credit card? And you were like, yeah. And you just get all the credit cards. And when I got out, I had so much debt on credit cards. It was unbelievable. And I was like, and then I had a baby. And I was like, okay, I got a baby and I got credit card debt. Now, how am I going to do this?
Yeah, like that
And
is
I didn't know.
it's so crazy. When I went to college, they had down Grand River. I went to Michigan State. They had tables set up on Grand River. So as all the kids walked down the street, you could stop at a table, and they were giving us bottles of soda for a credit card. And we're all broke college kids, so we're like, oh, I want something to drink. Yeah, fill out this credit card application so we can drink some
Yep.
soda tonight. Like, it's the craziest thing. And I made similar mistakes. I got a car as soon as I turned 18, but couldn't afford the insurance, right? So I have made these mistakes already. So education, finances, relationships, lifestyle, confidence. Like, yes, we have to zero in on the whole woman, because you can have the fancy clothes, right? Like you said, you had the fancy clothes, you look
Right.
real fly, right? But your pockets was hurting because you got all these credit cards. So
Hurting.
it could be that, or you can have somebody with money in their pocket, because I work with women who have money in their pocket, but they feel empty on the inside still because of whatever the case may be. The relationship that they're in, or the marriage that they're in, isn't fruitful, or they're not happy at their jobs, or their children are stressing them out, or they're just unhappy with themselves, and they're dealing with anxiety and depression and all of those things. So yeah, it comes full circle. You have to work on the different areas of your life. And another thing that I do want to point out too, especially for anybody who's listening, it's okay to take your time. We live in this society where everything has to happen like this. Everything has to happen fast, but that's okay. As long as you stay focused on your journey and not looking at everybody else's, it is okay to take your time and walk your race and make your plan and do the things that you need to do to put those different steps in order so you can make it to the next step. Because when we rush, that's when we fumble. That's when because we're skipping things. So as you try to skip them and you're walking, you're tripping over them. So in order to walk and know how to go through the blocks that are in your way, you have to go through and experience those things. So it's okay to slow down, and it's okay to just be who you are in that moment. And it's okay to look yourself in that mirror and say, you know what? I'm not okay. And here are the areas where I'm hurting. And here's what I need to do. Or I might need some help pushing over to the next side. This is I'm ready to get on the other side of whatever it is I'm going through, and I need some help in doing that. And again, a lot of it sometimes is tied back down to that self-esteem, even financially. Like, why do I feel I need to spend so much? Or why do I feel that I have to entertain so much? Why do I feel like I need to people please so much? What is it in you that feels empty if you don't do it? What is it in you that doesn't feel satisfied if you don't do those things? We help. Yeah, I definitely help women tap into that and figure out what that is, because it's different for everybody. We all come from different places and everything, so it's different for everybody.
It's definitely different, because I think about what you said. Like, even though my teachers told me, you got to look good all the time, I took that to heart. But in reality, I looked great, but it was killing my pockets, because my brother literally thought I had a shopping problem. He had American Express, right? We're a year apart. He's one of my best friends. He would give me the American Express card. I would shop till I had conniptions. I had so many clothes in my closet. It was with tags on them. I would just shop. Every Friday I would shop. So it helped me keep my self-esteem up, but it kept me extremely broke. So by the time I had my daughter, it was like, okay, now I got a closet full of clothes with tags on them that I couldn't wear after I had my daughter anyway. So I had to give them all away. But I also had really bad money habits. Like, I didn't save anything. I didn't know, like, I had no clue, and now I'm stressing out because I got this kid. I was working 3 jobs trying to make ends meet. It was crazy. And so when my daughter looked at me now, I was like, look, I don't need any of that stuff. Like, I was talking to someone earlier, and they was talking about the business. And they were talking about the chamber, and they was like, oh, you probably got a lot of systems. Like, nope, I run a very lean machine. There's no whole lot of systems with this business. There aren't any, because I know, when I look at what I have to do, is like, if you make all these bills, you got to pay all these bills. So I was like, no, the chamber doesn't have that many systems. I have 3. It's very lean. And so they was like, really, very, very lean, very, very lean. So, it's very needed. And you wouldn't think in today's age that it is still so much needed. is very much needed. Like everything that you're doing to empower women, to help them be a better version of themselves is so needed. And you would think that because we have access to so much content, well, I'm talking about everywhere you look, so much
Yeah.
content, that it wouldn't be that way. The other thing I want to say is they need to be okay asking, right? If you need
Yeah.
help, just ask for it. I was so my accountant, she's funny because she told me, "Oh my God, black people with all their pride." I was like, "Yeah, because I got a lot of that now. I got a lot of pride to the point where pride will paralyze you." Right? She
Yeah.
had to look at my business books, and I'm sitting over here sweating bullets, hyperventilating, not sleeping at night because I'm like, "Oh my God, what if she thinks something wrong about me and my books?" I'm all kinds of crazy stuff. So it took me about
What if I'm
3
not
weeks to
perfect?
actually go and see her. What if I'm not
Mm-hmm.
perfect? What if she looks at me the wrong way after she sees my business books? But she made me understand that we, especially us as black people, we have so much pride, we will suffer in silence.
Yeah, we will. Yeah, we will. And honestly, that's how we get in those situations. But also as Black people, a lot of us are trained very young to be quiet. What
Yep,
goes on in this house stays in this house.
that's
You
right.
know, you don't tell people what go on outside of our household. We keep it private and we keep it to ourselves. So we're
Yep,
trained at a very young age to not talk about what goes on in the house. We're also trained to not make mistakes because we always have to be twice or three times as good as the next one, right? So that automatically tells our brain, well, you cannot make a mistake. You or people gonna talk about you, and you know what happens when Black folks get talked about. Now you make everybody look bad. And why are we carrying that weight on our shoulders? That's not yours to carry. That's
yeah,
not your burden to hold, right? So what if you make a mistake? Mistakes are how we learn. But see, that's not what we're taught. We're taught when we make a mistake, oh, you're nothing, right? And
yeah,
that can, and this conversation can get deeper because that goes into systematic racism, right? But when we make a mistake, it's, oh, you're nothing. See, I told you what you were. When others make a mistake, it's, oh, okay, well, here's how we can learn from that. No, we can all learn from our mistakes.
yeah,
That's how we grow. That's how we move and go to the next part. We can't just stay, like in this space of I have to be perfect, because then you put yourself into this circle where you are literally killing your self-esteem. And the reason that I zoom in on self-esteem so much, I had to go through it. I was, especially as a student, I had to have the best grades. I used to cry over B's. Okay. If I got a straight A, great. But it takes my mom to talk about me. I would cry over a B, and Lord knows I couldn't get a C. Because no, like that is not who I am, right? But no, you are learning. You're always a
yeah,
student. You don't know everything. You have to experience some things. You have to walk through some things. You're gonna have to fail. You're gonna have to take that L. So a lot of times that L that a lot of us are afraid to take is stopping us from getting us to that win or that no that we're afraid to hear, because we
mhm,
don't like people telling us no either. Like, what
no,
you mean no? Like, we don't like people telling us no. We don't like people telling us that we're wrong. And instead of correcting, we'll say, well, what about you? Wait a minute, right?
right,
But that's not really what it's about. It's, are you allowing yourself, and are you open enough to allow yourself to be corrected? Do you love yourself enough to say, man, I need to look at this. Man, I could probably do better at this, right? Or you know what? Maybe I should
yeah,
allow myself to
mhm,
open up. But again, that comes with trust.
right,
And you have to build that, especially in this business and motivational speaking space. I don't just stand up here and make it seem like I got it all
mhm,
together. No, I can talk about self-esteem because I had to build that self-esteem. I suffer with having self-esteem as a very, very young girl, and I did not understand it at the time. But when you realize the things that you go through are not just for you, but when God lets you go through things, it's so other people can hear your story, then it's like, oh, now I understand why I had to deal with self-esteem issues so young. I get it now.
right,
Now I get why I
right,
had to have these strong women around me. I get it now. So now that I'm at this stage, oh yeah, I can talk to you about self-esteem. I can talk to you about finances because I know what it feels like to hit that rock bottom. I can talk to you about those things. I can talk to you about having a crazy relationship. I can talk to you about, the guy that's not right for you, and how I've seen those situations play out. I can talk about those things. Not because
yeah,
I'm judging you, but because, girl, I am you. You know, like
Right.
we are
Right.
not different. You know, we are all sisters and we are all connected somewhere. But the fact is, I can go ahead and pull you up. And baby, if I know how to do it, you better believe I'm gonna do it. So I'm gonna pull you right on up with me, and we gonna ride this thing together. And that literally brings my heart joy. If I could do anything all day long, is what can I do for you, sister? How can I help you when you leave my presence? How can you feel better than you when you walked in? Like, let's do it. Well, what do you need to do? So yeah, that's what I thrive off of. I love it.
I can tell, girl. I feel your passion all the way through this computer. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. So you got a question. It said the question is, can you elaborate on the significance of engaging in inner work, and how it contributes to personal growth and transformation?
Yeah, definitely. When you do that inner work, and when I talk about inner work, I mean the things that you say to yourself, how you speak to yourself, and not even how you speak. No, how do you speak to yourself? How do you, even the things that you don't say out loud, how do you speak to yourself in your head? What are the things that you're saying to yourself? When you talk about those things and when you tap into those things and how you're treating yourself, it extends outwardly. So I've seen people in different situations where such and such, they just treat me so bad, and people always disregard me, and I just feel so unseen. Well, how do you feel about yourself? Because you show other people how to treat you by how you treat yourself. So if you allow for yourself, or you allow negative talk from yourself, especially allow where other people can hear it, then you're teaching other people that that's okay. So when I work with women, I teach you that, hey, when you have those negative thoughts, you're going to have them. We're not even going to be unrealistic to say that you won't have negative thoughts. They come up, but let's figure out how to replace them. Let's figure out how to counteract them, because that inner work that you do with yourself, it extends into everything else that you're doing. When you start to talk to yourself with more confidence, when you start to appreciate the small things about yourself, you know what? You may not think you a 10. You may not think you the hottest thing on walking down the street. But baby, if you get up in the morning and you look yourself in the mirror and you say, I love you. I genuinely love you. I appreciate the way that you handled this situation yesterday. I appreciate the way that you did the dishes, even something as simple as that. I appreciate you for going out and picking up the mail before 12 o'clock, right? Appreciating yourself for those small things, just like how negative self-esteem or like negative comments chips away at your self-esteem. Positive comments work the same way, but they just start to build you up, and you have to be the one to start to do it. So that is the significance of really like tapping in on that inner work and tapping in on the things that you do with yourself, because they affect everything else that you do, even the jobs that you decide that you would take. When you know, because a lot of times women, we don't go for jobs that we are qualified for, that other people will be qualified for. We just don't go for them because we may be missing one thing on the qualification list. Where a man will turn around, he might be missing 4 or 5 things, but he's still going to apply for it because he's like, listen, I'm all in, I'll figure it out, right? It's just the way that we're wired. We're wired differently. So we don't have to be perfect. Again, we don't have to be perfect. Go apply for the job. Half of the stuff, and here's the secret to everybody who's watching anyway. When you apply for those jobs, they are going to train you anyway. Okay? They're going to train you and tell you what they want you to do anyway. So even if you are missing one thing on the application, apply anyway. The worst is someone is going to tell you is no. And what we get from those no's is we get feedback from those no's. We figure out how to fix those no's. No's are not a bad thing. But yeah, so yeah, that's how we work on that inner work so they can change outwardly.
It's so funny you say that. One of the things I've been doing here, this is my second week. So I've had a gym membership at Crunch like 5 years. 5 years. And I'm always on my daytime show. I'm always on the show talking about, I got to go to gym. So for the last 2 weeks, I've been exercising like 5 straight days, which is, for me, that's a record, y'all. That's a record. Okay. But one, I don't find the gym to be fun. That's one thing about me. But I have an accountability partner. And so we've been going religiously, right? But what I did was I actually wrote down in my journal, I'm so proud of you for going to the gym today. I'm so proud of you for getting on the bike today. I'm so, because I would go there like, I'm going to go, I'm going to get on it, I'm going to use the weight machine. But yesterday and today I got on the bike. So yesterday I wrote, I'm so proud of you for getting on the bike today. Because I'll go in there and do all the machines and like, okay, I'm done, I'm out, which counts, right? But I need some cardio, and I know I need cardio. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna go and I'm gonna get on the treadmill. So I did the treadmill last week. I did the bike, but I put that in my journal. And I journal a lot. So I journal nightly. I talk about, what happened throughout the day. I journal about the things I want to see happen tomorrow. I journal about what I was feeling when I was feeling funky, because I have my funky days just like everybody else. We're human. It just happens.
Yeah.
But I find that journaling has been so instrumental in helping me get through a lot of things. And I really started to journal a lot more when my mom passed. She passed from COVID in 21. And I had nobody to talk to at that point, because I didn't want to talk to anybody. I just wanted to just wallow in my misery at that point. So I would journal. I would journal. And but it has become very instrumental in everything that I do. Like, I will not go to bed without journaling. I will check my Fitbit. If I'm close to like the next 1,000, I'm gonna get out the bed and I'm gonna go walk. Like last night, I was 300 steps away from, like, I think 4,000 steps, right? And I was like, I gotta go get that 300 steps. So I got out the bed and I went and got the 300 steps. And by the time I got back upstairs, it was like 4,000 and I think 53 or something like that. So I went over, but it's those little things like that when you create these new habits that help you so much. And so I think that the work you're doing, teaching women how to get on this path, get on their own path. That's important. Get on their own path and not worry about what everybody else is doing. Just work on being the best you can be, right? Because and that's all you can really do at the end of the day. Don't worry about what everybody else is doing. Don't let pride stop you, because pride will stop you sometimes. Don't worry about those things. Just keep moving and know that you are good enough. I tell this story about, so I told you earlier, my mom and dad, they used to fight all the time. And I remember, I'm the type of person, if you tell me you want to do something, by the time you tell me what it is, I have created a whole plan in my head, like literally everything you need to do. If someone could take a printer and hook it up to my head, it would print out the entire plan. It's just how my brain is wired, right? And I remember every time I would start a business, it would start off really tiny and it keep growing and growing and growing and growing.
Yeah.
And but I wasn't making any money because it just kept growing and growing and growing. And I couldn't figure out why that is. And so I was watching Oprah when she first launched on TV, on network. And TD Jakes was on there. And he was talking about not being good enough. And I remember this. It was 2011. I'm folding up clothes, right? I'm folding clothes. And I'm kind of listening to what he's saying. And he's talking. And the more he talks, I said to myself, he's talking about me. Wow. I didn't even know that I was suffering from like daddy issues and not feeling good enough. Had no idea. All I knew is that I just had everything I did was bigger and bigger. It was never enough. It was always bigger. And I suffer from that to this day, but I recognize what it is now so I can control myself. So we go through so much as women, like little things that's blocked off, that has been blocked off in your head for years. You don't even know it's an issue. I didn't even know that was an issue, Michelle. Like it wasn't even cool in my mind until he said something that triggered, like, that sounds like me. And when I realized that's what it was, I was able to move forward better, right? Because now I know, okay, that's a trigger for you, Audrey. That's something that you have to work through. Feeling like you're good enough. I know I was smart, and I'm not saying that to be braggadocious or anything. I knew I was smart, and I couldn't figure out. Right, I couldn't figure out if I'm so smart, then why the hell am I so broke? That's what I couldn't figure out. But then I realized it's because everything I did had to get bigger and bigger and bigger. And that's because I felt like it was never enough, because I was trying to be enough for my father. What was interesting was in 2000 and he passed in 2006 and he was living in Vegas. My brother and I went to Vegas and he had a suitcase in his closet. It had every article, every magazine, every accomplishment I had ever had in that suitcase. My brother has it at his house now. Every accomplishment I had ever accomplished was in that suitcase. And I couldn't believe it. And as we were leaving to get on the plane, he spent most of his life in San Diego. So we flew his body back to San Diego for the funeral where his wife was buried at. As we were getting in the limousine to go back to the airport, to go back to Jersey, someone said, well, who is that, right? And so somebody in the crowd said, oh, those are his other two kids, right? And so the guy came over. He's like, I just want to tell you, your dad was so proud of you.
Wow.
He talked about y'all all the time. He had never said a word to me. Ever.
Wow.
But he had an entire suitcase with all of my stuff in it. And I was like, wow, all this time I've been suffering from this thing that I didn't even know I was suffering from. And my dad was proud of me. He just didn't know how to say it. So we go through a lot. We go through a lot. So that's why people like you are so important to help us move forward. And um, the world is, to me, it seems to be getting worse. I hate to be like the Debbie Downer, but it just seems to be getting worse. But I'm thankful and grateful that for the work that you're doing. I'm grateful
Thank
and thankful that you're a part of the Gwinnett Women's Chamber of Commerce. I'm grateful and thankful that you are on this show sharing. I feel your passion.
you.
I haven't had a chance to have real long conversations with you, but I feel your passion. So I know you're passionate about the work that you're doing. And that's so important. So important. You're not just here trying to be seen. You're not just here because you want some money for your organization. You are passionate, and we could feel that. Like, I'm
Yeah.
sure the people that are watching, we've had people that have been watching us the entire time. Like, I'm looking
Oh,
at the screens. Like, yes, I have two screens, y'all. Y'all don't see them, but when you see me looking down, I'm looking at all these screens. I'm looking at all these screens, and people have been here the entire time watching this segment, which is so important. So I know that what you're saying is touching home for some folks. So, what are you working on right now? What's big? What's going on with you that you're working
really?
on that you want to share with us?
Okay, so I have a couple of things that I'm working on. So right now, I have a master class that is starting in October. So on this master class, I am offering up tips on education, finances, relationships, self-esteem, healing, the inner work that we have been talking about on this call, that healing. I'm offering a masterclass, and that is coming up in October. You can definitely go on my website and get the details on that. So I'm really, really, really excited about our masterclass. The masterclass is very exclusive. I am really, because I care about the people who are underneath me in my coaching. I am only taking 10 people. Like you said, I'm not in it for, oh, I'm trying to get money for this. No, I really, really, really want to help people. That is what I'm here for. So I'm only taking 10 people into this masterclass, and I think that it will be really, really beneficial for the right people. So I'm really, really, really excited about that. I have a goals workbook that I mentioned earlier. It is on my website. I'm super excited about that too. It is a free download. So like, even if you missed this interview or you're like, dang, I can't catch Rashia and Nicole, baby, you can catch me on my website. There is a free workbook for you to download. And what it does is it teaches you how to go through, identify what your goals are, and how to make a plan to work those goals. We talked about on this interview about keeping your eyes on your own paper and just walking your own path. Well, this goal workbook helps you do that. So I'm excited about that. I know you mentioned my journals. I have a gratitude journal. I am big on saying thank you. There is power in your thank you. You just, first of all, you never know who you're talking to. And this is just a word of advice for just anybody walking through the streets or whatever. You mad, and we in Atlanta, so people drive kind of crazy. You be wanting to flip people off, but you never know who's in the car next to you. You never know what
That's right.
the words thank you can do for you, or just expressing gratitude or showing appreciation. And not only what it does for you and like opportunities, but just what it can do in your inner life. So I teach, it is a 90-day gratitude journal. And since it's behind me, I'll just show it. It's Goals, Grind, and Gratitude. It's a 90-day gratitude journal that walks women through how to show gratitude. One of the things that I say in the book is, when you express gratitude, it opens the doors for you to have another reason to express gratitude. So your doors will continue to open when you show that you are thankful for what you have. So that, and then I also have a version for teenage girls too. So it's the gratitude for me. So same concept, but it's specifically made for my teenage girls, because I started off working with teenagers. So I will always have something for them. So I'm excited about that. I'm excited about being one of the founding members of Gwinnett Women's Chamber of Commerce. I'm super excited about that. So yeah, that is what I'm working on right now. And I'm sure I might be forgetting something else, but those are the things that are in the forefront of my mind. I have a podcast that's coming out soon. So I'm really, really excited about that. Yeah, like God is doing some amazing things in my life right now. And I'm excited to see where he takes me. I've been loving this journey. I've been mentoring and coaching for over 19 years. So it's like, I'm ready to go to that next avenue. And these are the things and the different products that I have out to help push women to the next level. So I'm excited, and I'm excited to help women and just really continue to push them forward.
What's your website?
RashiaNicole.com. So it's RashiaNicole.com. So it's just my name, RashiaNicole.com.
All right, we're gonna pop it up on the screen so people can see it. And listen, you want the book? It's on Amazon. Yes. It's in the shopping cart. Hit the button. It's in the shopping cart right there. She talked about starting a podcast. Listen, you got something to say? Buy the book. That's the podcast book to help you start your podcast. Listen, go ahead. This podcasting is a powerful platform. It is actually the media.
Yep.
Let me say that again. It is media. You are watching me right now. We're streaming to over 20,000 people right now. They're watching us. This is media, y'all. And then it goes on to go some other places. This is called media. So congratulations on the launch of the podcast. Excited about that. Can't wait to hear more about that. And listen, if you got any questions that you need answering to when it comes to this space, you know, you can always holler at your girl for that, because I live here 5 days a week. I live in this space 5 days a week. So, all right, listen, guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode as much as I did. I hope that you go out and you connect with Rashia on her website, RashiaNicole.com. Pick up her book, Goals, Grind, and Gratitude from Amazon. It's right there in the shopping cart. You can also pick up a copy of my book, too. You got something to say. The Ultimate Guide to Starting Your Own Podcast. We'll be back with another great woman. Yes, I said great. From the GWC. Yes, from the GWC. We'll be back with another great woman for the GWC. So if you guys would like to be a member of the Gwinnett Women's Chamber of Commerce, by all means do so. We would love to have you. Do you need to live in Gwinnett County? You do not, because we do offer opportunities, virtual opportunities as well. And as a member, as a founding member, you get to be on an interview like this with us. So you can go to GwinnettWomen'sChamber.com for more information about how to become a member of our chamber and of our community and our family. We would love to have you. We do at least 4 or 5 virtual events a year. So no matter where you are in the world, you can still attend our events, and you can still get all of the other perks and benefits of being a member, even if you're not here locally. So thank you again, Rashia, for being here with us. We will be back again. You're very welcome. You're very welcome. We'll be back again when we had another great interview. So make sure to subscribe to the channel, Talk Business with Audrey. Going over to YouTube and look up Talk Business with Audrey. It's there. All right. You guys have a wonderful, wonderful day. Hey, by the way, go to goodmorninggwinnett.com so you can catch me in the morning at 10 o'clock a.m. live. All right. Thanks again. I'll be back again. Until next time, my friends. Until next time, y'all make it a great day. Okay. Bye now.
You've been listening to Talk Business with Audrey. Bringing you another powerful resource to help you start or grow your business so that you can live the boss life. If you enjoyed this episode, subscribe to the show now, share it with your friends, and drop Audrey a note over at www.talkbusinesswithaudrey.biz.